When somebody say deck builder, we immediately think Slay the Spire, Magic the Gathering, Balatro, or even Inscription, which is really good by the way, go play it. But these are the big stars of the deck building world. What about the ones left in their shadow? Hi guys, this is Jay. Today I want to share with you some of the hidden gems in this particular genre. There are a ton of these out there, but these ones stood out to me. So here we go. Here are some deck builders you should definitely give a shot. Beneath Oresa is set in a wealthy city that was abandoned by the gods. Now, all types of adventurers come here to go on expeditions to find what hidden treasures might be around. You probably guessed that these expeditions take place beneath that city, a place infested with a lot of danger. What is unique about Beneath Oresa is the way it handles its classes. Instead of having fixed classes like in most deck builders, you can choose from 3 families of warriors, each family being composed of 3 members which share a certain theme. These members differentiate from one another by adding a certain twist to that theme. So even if you have similar cards from one member to another, your run is played very differently based on that twist. Furthermore, you can choose a companion who will bring another twist to your deck in the form of passives or even actual cards. This is done throughout the run with a mechanic called companionship. All of this, when added up, brings a lot of diversity to the deck building in each run. As you have seen by now, the style of Beneath Oresa is quite unique. The art direction gives me this scrappy Borderlands vibe, which I find to be really fitting here. I could see any of these guys as a Vault Hunter. The way the fights are portrayed is also distinct. As you play cards, your character executes the attack as if we were playing Mortal Kombat. There is even that slow-mo after each attack to make it feel more cinematic. Seeing your character flying from one side of the battlefield to the other while landing powerful attacks is pretty satisfying. In Deep Sky Derelicts, you are charged with forming a team of mercenaries composed of 3 members. Operating from a central station, the scavengers' main occupation is to loot derelict ship in the Deep Sky sector. These alien ships contain many dangers, but also loot, valuable artifacts, and multiple surprises. For me, one of the distinctive aspects of the game is its art style. The mix of futuristic art combined with the comic aesthetic is really unique for a game like this. I find that, especially during engagements, it adds a lot of weight to every action. The way your team travels in every level is also quite unique. Instead of following a pre-made route and choosing from 1 to 2 options, you can freely travel on a selection of tiles representing the ship or planet you are on. These tiles can contain all sorts of hazard, loot, or encounters. The other interesting mechanic that is closely tied to this one is the energy reserve of your squad. It is used to perform different tasks throughout the game, its main one being to keep your team's life support system online. This adds a certain weight to your decision, since if you run out of energy, your team will die. Finally, in Deep Sky, items add certain cards to your deck. This means that a mercenary's deck can change pretty quickly depending on which item you decide to equip. It's interesting to have items do something else apart from modifying certain stats. Upgrading certain skills also grants some unique cards to the upgraded character's deck, which in turn really builds that feeling that you are slowly creating an expert team of mercenaries. Fights in tight spaces. as you playing Agent 11, an operative who specializes in close quarter combat. You will be assigned various missions against various organizations, all of which you must defeat using strategy and a variety of fighting techniques. While I consider myself to be quite experienced in deck builders, this game really reinvented the wheel for me. Usually, the most important things are the cards in your deck, the order in which you draw them, and the artifacts or buff you collect along the way. Here, all of this is still important, but you also have to account for positioning, enemy range, the type of attack they are using, as well as the map limits, because being pushed out kills you instantly. This is one of the harder deck builders I've played, but once you start to understand its system, it feels incredibly rewarding. For example, enemies can be thrown into the attacks of their friends, and you can use walls and obstacles to your advantage to trigger awesome chain of events. After each completed level, you can review the fight as if it happened in one fluid moment, showing you each of your choice in an action movie format. This deck builder has a lot of personality and a steep learning curve that rewards your inner strategist. Before we go further, I just want to mention my appreciation for all the music artists that work on these games. They all did a fantastic job. All these tracks really help to immerse yourself in the different games. The artists' names and the name of their song will be in the description below. In Astrea, you must take the role of a six-sided oracle. These beings were chosen by a mystical star who once governed their now corrupted civilization. The task of each oracle is to reach Astrea's heart in order to purify the solar system and save their civilization. In this installment, you will be building a deck of dices instead of cards, each die being highly customizable and having a certain effect depending on which face it lands on. The damage system is a little different from what we are used to in games. Usually, when you take damage, that chunk of life is just gone. Here, it is actively part of the purification and corruption mechanic. The life bars on enemies are red because they are corrupted, and yours is blue because you are pure. When you attack enemies, part of their health bar becomes blue because you are trying to purify them. On the flip side, they are trying to corrupt you. This may seem unnecessarily complex, but I assure you that it all makes sense down the line. The icons on top of the health bar represent abilities that can only be activated if you have taken the related amount of corruption. This mechanic is remarkable because to reach the full potential of an oracle, the player must be willing to give in to the corruption. This creates unique gameplay, where you walk a thin line, trying to harvest the powers of corruption without going too far. In Vault of the Void, you play as one of 4 heroes who are trying to vanquish a series of dungeon floors to reach the void and put an end to it. The runs are played in similar fashion to your average deck builder. What is interesting is how much player agency is in the game. Contrary to Slay the Spire, for example, you have control on pretty much everything. You can plan your route and see which tiles grant which reward, as well as what enemies you will face. Your deck must be made up of 20 cards at all time, but each card you collect during your run is stored in the backpack, so you can switch up your deck whenever you want. Each hero also has multiple starting deck options, which modifies the overall theme of your deck. The combat is probably one of the most innovative I've seen in this archetype. Instead of automatically discarding your hand at the end of a turn, you can keep any number of cards. Discarding cards grants you energy to play other cards, This allows you to better plan and execute what you have in mind for your deck, and it is very satisfying. Furthermore, the damage you receive during encounters is treated as threats instead of direct damage, meaning that you will only receive the damage at the end of your current turn. This is a game changer, since you have a lot more time to react to enemy actions, and you won't take damage just because you didn't draw a defense card this turn. All of these factors give the player a lot of options and put the success of the run in his hands. Black Book is an adventure set in a world of Slavic folktales. As Vasilisa, a young witch, you will embark on a quest to save the soul of your beloved. For this, you will need to shatter the 7 seals of the Black Book. This game is not built like your traditional deck builder. It is story based and kind of dialogue heavy. You actually have to make some important choices during the course of the game. These will affect what kind of witch Vasilisa will become. I found this to be a breath of fresh air, since deck builders are usually run-based roguelikes. During combat, the cards you play are basically pages of the Black Book, which are separated in 2 types: the scrolls and the keys. For example, at the start of the game you can play 2 scrolls and 1 key per turn. It's interesting to see all the combos you can make, but overall the combat is pretty straightforward. In this game, you are also able to build and manage a flock of demons that will do your bidding. But careful, if left with nothing to do, these chorts will torment you instead of others. The game also has a pretty immersive vibe, with its visuals, sounds, and lore. It's amazing to see all the details that were implemented, like the multiple traditional stories and songs, for example. Hadean Tactics has you going on a quest to vanquish the 6 circles of hell. For this, you will need to choose a champion and recruit some efficient minions. This is a mix of an auto-battler and a deck builder, meaning that you will build your party with different types of units and unleash them on the battlefield. And while the battle is going on, you will play cards from your deck to influence the outcome of the fight. The pace of the game is what I found to be really unique here. There are these 2 opposite elements that are made to work together: the automatic fast auto battles and the slow and methodical card play. They make for a very addicting combo. Building your party and your deck to make it so they synergize with one another is also an interesting element of the game. There are a lot of combo potential to take advantage of here. This is also true for strategy and unit placement on the field of battle. Although, I don't know if it's because I haven't progressed far enough or if it's just not a thing in auto battlers, but I would have liked to see some variation in the battlefield layout. Overall, this was a unique experience for me. Deck builders hold a special place in my heart. The different encounters, the bosses, and the quest to find the perfect build are all elements that resonate with me. These are but a few games that I found to be really interesting. There are a lot more of them out there. But what is your favorite deck builder? Have you played any of the games mentioned in the video? What did you think of them? Let's talk anything deck builder in the comments below. If you are still watching at this point, I want to thank you. It really means the world to me. And I sure hope to see you in the next chapter of our Odyssey.